Hello, I'm John McNamara, one of the team events in IBM Hursley, and I'm today with Andrew Humphreys. Hello, buddy. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you, John?
I'm very, very well. Today we are talking about winning in the digital economy, needs solid API and integration capabilities. So, Andy, before we get cracking, can you tell everyone who you are and what you do?
Absolutely, yeah. So my name's Andy Humphreys. I work in product management for the IBM integration portfolio. I'm actually the product manager for a product called IBM Integration Bus. And as a product manager, my role is basically to understand the market, understand where we need to take the product, define product plans that we can roll out new features and functions for.
Awesome. That's pretty good. Okay, so I'm guessing that winning in the digital economy is going to require a significant amount of digital transformation. But what does that really mean, and why is it important?
Good question, John.
Thank you very much.
So I'd actually answer that a slightly different way. And it's if you think about the way that technologies, and particularly mobile technologies, have changed your life and everybody's life, and the way you tend to do things. So I'll give an example of a couple of months ago, I was actually looking to buy a new bed for my daughter. So she'd grown out of a toddler bed, and we needed to get her a kind of a more grown-up bed so her feet didn't hang over the end anymore.
Right.
Now, if you look at what I would have done probably about 7 or 8 years ago, I would probably have gone to the local bed shop. I'd have probably looked at what they had, gone, like, look at that one, maybe bounced on the mattress a bit, and bought that, taken it home, job done.
Okay.
But what I did in now, and I think this is very indicative of the way that everybody now buys stuff, is I started by looking on the internet for different styles of beds. And then when I found a few that I liked, I then went and looked for reviews for that bed. So then I tried to go, well, how is this good quality? What do people say about it? So I got like kind of all of that kind of feedback again from online. And then actually I did actually go to a store. I actually went to a physical shop and I looked at the bed, give it a quick, push around a bit. Oh, that seems okay. But I didn't buy it there because I looked at the price and I thought, if I look online, I can actually see it cheaper.
You want those people, are you?
Yeah, exactly. So I went out to the store, bought it online, got it delivered straight to my door.
Very good.
So my entire experience, my entire buying process was completely different. So I think like technology is basically redefining the way that we would buy something. So we're making more use of other people's recommendations. So social media plays a part here. We're probably doing a lot of the research not on just PCs, but actually doing it on mobiles. So we want to be able to buy things on mobiles. We want to be able to look at things on mobiles. We want to get we want to be able to use the technology in a way which saves us from the effort of having to go to the store and make a decision there and then. So we're getting a lot more informed about the decisions that we're making. We've got a lot more data that we can use to understand that. And that whole thing is really kind of redefining the way that any industry needs to interact with its customers. So it's not just a retail story. The same is true of banking. I mean, I no longer expect to have to go into a bank branch, for example. I know I had a meeting a couple of weeks ago with a company which was actually a catalogue sales organization. So they used to deliver catalogues to the door, and you'd order things through the catalogue, and then they would deliver them to you. So you would think that is an example of an organisation which would be quite well suited to redefine itself to be driven by the internet. But actually what's happened is because they were slow to react to the change of the internet, they actually went from being $1 billion a year business to $150 billion business very, very quickly, because their competitors sprung up from places they weren't expecting. So like Amazon basically destroyed them as a business because it came kind of from nowhere, really, from their point of view. There wasn't somebody who was a traditional competitor. And that sort of thing is very much like if we look at this kind of technology shift, this need to appeal to the target buyer more directly using digital media is a real paradigm shift across all industries, and it's a real disruptive force. So if, as an example, if you look at like the history of companies, you can see disruption can influence things in a number of different ways. So like digital cameras, for example, completely destroyed the demand for film-based cameras.
True.
And then after that, mobile phones having cameras built in completely destroyed the market for digital cameras. So you need to be able to respond to these needs. And not everybody successfully does. So if you look at the Fortune 500 companies in 2000, only 50% of those companies still exist just 15 years later. They've been merged, fallen out of the top 500, or they're no longer there in some way or other. It's because they weren't able to respond to the disruptions that were happening around their industry.
Okay.
And if we look at it very specifically about digital transformation, well, digital transformation is more about how do we actually create that compelling, engaging experience, making use of all the technology that people want to now use. So how do we deliver an engaging mobile experience? How do we streamline our delivery processes to be more reactive to customer demand? Which is actually what Amazon's original key selling point was. It can actually get pretty much anything to you in a day or two,
right?
Instead of waiting 28 days for something to arrive. And this is kind of prevalent across a number of industries. So you see things like Uber and the impact that is happening on taxi firms. Uber does not employ a single taxi driver. It does not own a single car. All it has is a technology platform which delivers an experience to the consumer where they can actually order a taxi really easily online. They can pay for it without actually having to any cash. And all of the people who are using that, both the Uber drivers and the person, are just paying for that technology. There's actually it's just a private relationship between you and the driver, and it's destroying the taxi industry to an extent. Similar with hotel industry, things like Airbnb are revolutionising the way that people make choices to stay. So whilst it's a disruptor and it's a challenge for existing companies, it's also an opportunity, because the ones who can respond most and build the most engaging digital experience and understand the customer's needs most accurately can actually get a real opportunity out of it, because if they can deliver that experience, they're immediately be more appealing. Mm-hmm. If they can take advantage of all the extra data which is now flown around, so like, for example, when I'm looking at beds online, it's possible to track what other things have I been looking at. What size beds did I look at? What coloured clothes was I looking at before I actually made this purchase decision? And then I can use things like analytics to actually understand, well, what is it that this kind of person is, what floats their boat? Let's make a targeted offer at them. So it creates an opportunity where I can get a competitive advantage and get new channels for business that I had previously.
Sound. So I think we just started to touch on it, but how do APIs fit into this worldview?
So, I mean, APIs are pretty much the technology or the language which is being used to create these digital experiences. Mm-hmm. So in many ways, an API is very much like an SOA service, which we've seen in the industry for a very long time. It's the idea of encapsulating a piece of useful function into something that can be then consumed, so that you can recreate everything or create new things really, really quickly without having to change the underlying technology. But it's also very different from what we've seen with SOA services as well. So SOA services tend to be very coarse-grained, big pieces of infrastructure with very, very solidly defined interfaces. So it's like, here's your contract that you're going to invoke. We see them very much successful within internal businesses, internally being able to create services and so forth. Whereas an API is actually very much an external thing. It's a very smaller piece of function, but it's also very business focused, not technology focused. So it does something really specific with the intention of encouraging innovation. So I want to give you all of the building blocks that you need to be able to innovate and build things new, which I wouldn't necessarily thought of before. The other reason why I think APIs have become predominant is that the people who are doing that innovation are actually quite different than the traditional people we see in IT departments. So they tend to be like the guys kind of wandering around in their cool trainers or not really, they don't really understand the underlying technology, but they're very skilled at programming and building compelling user experiences. and identifying new potential opportunities
Yeah.
through the use of APIs. So that's why you see APIs tend to be what gets used in hackathons, as an example.
Yeah.
It's like, let's create a set of APIs, let's give them to this bunch of innovative, go-getting young people and see what they can come up with as a compelling digital experience. And that's another distinction of why APIs are different. It's because there's a real culture in here of, well, let's prototype, let's innovate, let's just throw something out there and see if it works. If you compare that to the world of SOA or the more traditional IT market, that market is very slow in comparison, because what you're trying to build in traditional IT is something which is very solid, very reliable, where change is a big effort, because you want that to be the real system of truth, the real ledger of truth for your business. That everything is flowing through that, needs to be accurate. Can't afford to lose data, or can't afford to make a mistake. Whereas if it's a mobile application and it doesn't appear, well, just throw it away. It's not important. I can innovate very quickly, and I don't expect things to last a very long time. So part of the advantage of APIs and digital transformation in general is speed. It's how quickly can I get something out there. I could build the perfect digital experience for an opportunity I have today, but if it takes me 3 years to do it, I've gained nothing because that opportunity's gone.
Fair enough. So I think we touched on that as well, just about. But what other challenges do you see companies having to achieve this kind of experience?
So the biggest challenges around this are a couple of things. So I'll start with looking at it from the point of view of APIs. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to expose effectively a set of building blocks on my business so that people can get value out of it. Okay, so a good example of this is US Postal Service. Mm-hmm. They created an API which, if you enter a zip code, returns the address.
Okay, yeah.
They just put it out there and charged people to use it, and they made more money out of that than they actually made out of deliveries. Right. So that's an opportunity of how digital transformation can give you new revenue and new channels.
Yeah.
But then when you're creating an API and you're putting it out there in the world for somebody to come along and use, how do you actually do that? How do people come and find your API? How, once you've got that API, do you actually monitor who's using it? So how do you actually make sure that it's performing and it's getting accessed? How do you bill for it? How do you introduce a billing system that can actually let you charge people to use it?
Yeah.
How do you ensure availability to make sure that API is available and running and so forth? And how do I actually control who can access it and who can't? So I can only let people access it who have paid to do so.
I've got you.
And this is really the whole area of API management. And IBM has a product in this space called API management. Imaginatively. yeah, makes it very easy to understand. Does exactly what it says on the tin. So it can take any API that you have in your business and it can expose it as a catalog to the API developer. So here's all the APIs I have. What do you want to do with this? And then it can also enforce contracts. So you can say, I can choose to pay that you, John, are saying, I'm going to invoke this API 10 times an hour. Okay. And you as an individual can be restricted to only invoking it 10 times an hour. Or you could pay more and invoke it 100 times an hour. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And I can then see how much you've actually used it and bill you for it. And then I can also say things like, I'm actually creating a new version of this API. John, you're using this version. Do you want to switch to this version? Yeah. And so forth. So that gives us a whole new level of control to actually expose and manage APIs in the business.
Fantastic.
The other side of that, though, is actually where do these APIs actually come from? Okay, so I could build APIs which are very much user interface focused, and there's a whole bunch of tools out there which let you do that. Okay, but if we actually think about it, and I'll give another story here. So actually, it's coming up to my summer holidays. Next week, I'm actually going on vacation.
Very good.
But when I booked my holiday. Again, I didn't go to a travel agent. Who goes to a travel agent now? I actually did it all via the internet.
Yeah.
So what I did first was I actually went and found where I wanted to stay. I said, oh, this is where we're going to go and stay. Let's book some accommodation here. Perfect. Got a response back saying, yep, that's great. Then I went and booked a flight. Did that again. Went to the British Airways website, booked the flight. Then I went to book a hire car. So great. Yeah. So I've got all these 3 things booked. Brilliant. Job done. Then though, actually the next morning, after I'd actually made the booking, the accommodation emailed me back. Thank you for your reservation inquiry.
Yes, it was coming here.
Yeah.
Go on. Yeah.
We've checked into our reservation system, and I'm afraid that we don't actually have any availability on that day. And I'm like, well, hang on, I've just booked the flight, I've just booked the car, all around the assumption that date is real.
Yeah.
And that actually illustrates a really important thing about any kind of digital experience that I build. It's that if I need to deliver a digital experience that's compelling, I need to be able to integrate back to my existing back-end systems and back-end data. So their web application did not talk to their reservation system. So it couldn't give me a real-time update on whether they had any availability.
Right.
So that is actually a bad experience, and that actually turns customers away. So,
Yeah.
well, why should I bother going back to that site? What I actually did in the end was I found somewhere else to stay, which had an online reservation system, and booked it as a result. So the point I'm trying to make there is, in order to successfully deliver on the API economy and digital transformation, you can't just build it in isolation from all the stuff you already have. You actually have to be able to integrate everything you've got in order to take advantage of it, because I've already got the systems where I need to do my billing, where I need to do my reservations, where I need to do everything else. So I need to be able to integrate and expose APIs from them to get the innovation. Okay, so that creates a number of challenges. Okay, so firstly, it's not simple. It's not simple to go and create an API out of a system which was never built or designed to do so.
Yeah.
Okay, so I need to have some kind of way that I can actually look at my systems which are exposing interfaces like files or web services or messaging or anything really. It could be like a TCP/IP socket.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to easily expose an API on that. Or it might be actually be more complex. I want to have an API which actually involves me having to talk to 5 or 6 different systems, all of which speak different transport protocols, all of which understand the data structure slightly differently. So a customer in one, different to a customer than another.
Yep.
So that becomes a real challenge. That is not, though, a new challenge. That is a classic integration problem that IBM has been involved with solving for years.
Yeah.
It's like, things talk different languages, and they talk different protocols.
Yeah.
So it's like I understand like messaging, web services. They're all different protocols, and also they define data differently. So there's a whole set of tools which exist in order to solve integration challenges. And that
very good. So I think we've come up to the final question, which I think you've sort of nailed on the head exactly, which is, how does IBM integration help?
So we if you look at what I've just described around the problem of digital transformation and how we succeed in that space, one of the challenges I did allude to earlier, so the people who are building the innovative applications, they tend to be very different from the people who are working in the traditional integration IT department. Okay, the people who are working in this new modern world don't really understand the complexities of how do I integrate with a Kick system, or how do I integrate with my iSeries system, or this funny old thing over here running on this Unix box.
Sure. So
there's a problem, which is also I also talked about earlier of, on one side, we're trying to innovate and we're trying to get things out really, really quickly.
Yeah.
On the other side, we're in a more steady state. We want to do things very slowly, avoid too much change, avoid too much risk. And then these two worlds are going to collide, because I need to be able to access all of the data in these old systems. So how do I do it in a way which actually keeps both sides happy? Because one of my concerns in the IT department is I'm creating these things which are going to access my systems. They were never designed for that. They were designed purely to cope with, say, 10 requests a day. And I'm talking about potentially sending millions.
For sure.
How do I cope with that? How do I build and expose APIs on a secure, reliable, scalable platform? And that's really where IBM integration sits, is actually to help you bridge between these two different speeds of IT. Right. So we've already talked about API management being a product, to be honest, very much aimed at the fast, innovative world, because here's all your APIs, here's how you access them, here's innovate on these things. And then if we look at Integration Bus, well, that is a product which is world renowned for being able to simplify integration problems. So we can take we can connect anything and convert it to anything else.
Okay. Right.
And part of what we've done in the very latest version of the product is invest a lot in our support and ability to work with REST APIs, which, as we've already discussed, are the underpinning language for innovation. So what we see in the product is the ability to expose any existing interface in just a couple of clicks, completely graphically. I can just go into the tool. I can go, here's an existing interface I want to expose. I can create an API out of it.
That's really cool.
Yeah, all graphically, all new support in version 10 of the product. We can also then do things like, now I've created that API.
Yeah.
We've actually associated with it a Swagger definition, which is the leading definition language for describing APIs. Swagger 2.0. It tells you what the interface is on the API and where it's running and so forth. A bit like a WSDL in a web service conversation. And what we can do is we can actually take that WSDL and push it directly into IBM's API management product. So I can be within IIB, create an API, and push that API definition straight into API management to be exposed to the outside world.
Cool.
So I bridge between the two worlds. So I've got my traditional on-premises, steady spade integration specialist, knows the complexity to build an API, but can completely facade that and deliver it to the digital developer really, really quickly. So the digital developer has no understanding of the complexity of what's running behind that. And then also I can use features within IBM integration built into API management and in IIB, which can actually control the data that's actually the number of requests that go into my backend system, so I don't overload them. So I can use built-in caching. Again, I can do that completely graphically in Integration Bus. I can use caching in the API management layer, so that actually, if it's get the same request, I don't have to always go to the backend system, and that helps keep things running really quickly, and also prevents those backend systems being overloaded. So we end up with like a really solid and proven technology base around IBM's traditional integration products, so the messaging products, Integration Bus, Data Power, but extending that capability to support digital transformation. So delivering a true hybrid platform which spans between what we call this kind of fast speed, innovative IT, new world of capitalizing on digital transformation, bringing in analytics, giving you the engaging experience, and the rock solid integration platform which enables you to actually build those APIs which let you innovate.
Wow, that sounds absolutely awesome. So shall we go to Twitter and see what questions await us there, fella?
Yeah, let's do it, John.
All right, okie dokie. All right, so hello, IBM integration. How does Bluemix fit with this integration story, Andy?
So, well, Bluemix is IBM's iPaaS platform, so integration platform as a service, and a PaaS platform, which is just a platform as a service. It is really aimed at the API developer, the innovative developer. So it gives you a bunch of tools that the person who's trying to build the mobile experience or the digital experience can go in there and actually build their solution, their mobile app. And we can let them test it, let it host it, gives it the environment that it actually can run in. It integrates really cleanly with API management. So API management is the place where all of those APIs are coming from, if you like, and bridges then back into the on-premise systems of record using Integration Bus as the point that was in there. So they're all kind of, they all play a role in the story, and they're all very tightly integrated to deliver the solution end to end.
Fantastic. So we've got an integration community. What I'll do is I'll post a link to that. So if anyone wants some more information about that, they can pick it up from there. Andy, thank you very much, everybody. It's been an absolute joy to talk to you.
And you, John, and you enjoy your holiday.
I will indeed. Take care, and thanks for joining us. Bye-bye, everyone.